we're going to do just a quick update, and we're going to kind of go back to conversations we started. It's hard for me to believe that this is my 5th year here, so it's gone really fast, and I think the last 2, feel like 7, but they were only 2, but it feels like 7. So we want to go back to those conversations, and one of those conversations we were having was around, what does a meaningful assessment look like? Do we have an assessment internally that measures the growth of the child? Because as well as I do, you can all remember when you were learning something, sometimes it took that light bulb to come on a little bit. Some people was a lot faster, other people was a little slower or whatever. So really what we wanted to do is really have an instrument and a program inside our district that allowed our parents and our students and our teachers to have meaningful conversations around student growth. So where does a kid start at the beginning of the year, and how much did we grow them by the end of the year? And then that growth can be tracked. How much do we grow them the next year and the next year and the next year? So it's not this, we take one assessment at the end of the year and then we move on and we get measured on a whole different set of assessments. So really about growth. And so we've created an internal assessment program inside our district, and I'm going to start with that today. But before I do that, I wanted to just show you this great picture. This was from the first day of school, and I would like to just say that this is over at Kennerly, and I love this guy right here. He's like, peace everybody, I'm excited to be back in school, woohoo, no masks on, I'm ready to rock and roll. So, and I will just say to all of you, it feels so normal. It feels like pre-pandemic, it feels 2019-ish. It's been a great start to the school year. This is hard. I'll age myself here a little bit. This is my 32nd year in education, and 20 years of that have been in school administration. And this is one of the best starts to school that I've been a part of in my career. And so just super excited to see the families and kids and just the normal activities that are going back on in our building. So we just wanted to share that with you, that it's just been a really, really good start to the school year.
What grade are those?
I want to say these are 3rd graders, I think. Were you with me, Spencer, or were they 1st graders?
Oh, maybe they're third grade.
Yeah, I think they were down at the end of the hallway, Kennerly. That's 3rd grade down that way. So yeah, so 3rd graders. But it was great. It's been a great start to school here. So our assessment program that I was mentioning earlier. So we started this conversation 3 years ago, and really it was about us identifying tools and instruments for our teachers to have meaningful conversations with our kids and our parents. And so the assessment, so what I'm going to show you here is, this is a 3rd grade internal assessment right here. This is these internal assessments we have are nationally normed. So there's kids across this entire country taking this exact exam. And what I think it's really important, and what we're sharing with the community, is the national norms are kids that did not go through a pandemic. So they were 2019. So what you're seeing here on this chart is our kids that went through 2 years and a quarter. Remember, we sent them home March of 2020 on the longest spring break in the history of public schools, right? They went home and they didn't come back. And so right here, our kids are outperforming kids prior to the pandemic. And so would we like to be higher than that? Absolutely. But I think it's a really good point to look at, that, our kids are outperforming kids that did not go through a pandemic. And I'm going to show you in this next slide how the pandemic really impacted kids. And I'm going to show you how our kids are starting to come out of that academic dip. And so when you look here, so national average, so our kids, this is 2019 information, and this is last spring and winter, fall, winter, and spring, and you look that our kids are outperforming kids that did not go through a pandemic. We don't love this, that we kind of stagnated. We didn't see a whole lot of growth. We kind of just flatlined. We don't like that. We do think there could potentially be a little bit of testing fatigue going on in the spring, because we're given this assessment and then we're given the state assessment, and we think sometimes kids are like, I'm done, stop testing me, stop doing that, I'm ready to go on summer vacation. So we'll keep our eye on that. But what we want to do is, we set ourselves a goal for this year to have 80% of our kids in this category right here. And so when you look at that, that's a pretty big jump. But what we want to do is hit that 80%, then we want to hit 85, then we want to be 90, then we want to be 95. And here's what I will say is, we want 100% of our kids to be in this right here. But if we're hitting 95% all the time, we're probably 100% because you have a kid that said, you know what, I'm not going to try today. Somebody could have passed away in the family the night before and they don't try. They could have gotten, there's lots of factors that go into that test day. So if we're hitting that 95% or higher, we will feel really good about that. So that's just a glimpse. And the reason we're showing you third grade is because really we need to get our kids, almost all of our kids, if not all of our kids, reading on grade level by that third grade to help them be successful. So this is kind of what we wanted to show you. And what we want to show you in this next one is the COVID dip. So these are our third graders this past year. So they're our fourth graders now. When these kids were, our fourth graders were in first grade in the pandemic year. So the 1920 school year. It's also important to note this was the first year we changed how we were teaching reading also at the early grade levels. We really did an impact study around phonics and teaching phonemic awareness and really around the science of reading. How do you really teach kids to decode, do all of that? So we did that in the 18-19 year, and then we started to implement our new program with our new assessment in the 19-20 school year. But at the winter break, so the kids had just gotten a semester of this new program and this assessment, 97% of our kids were basically doing what they were supposed to be doing. So 3% were still at high risk. We had some risk, but they're doing okay. But 87% of our kids were at low risk of not being on level or being where they needed to be at the reading. And so, but then you look what happened. We sent them home, right, in March. So we didn't get, in the spring of 2020, we didn't get an assessment score. We came back, and we believe we've come out of our dip, because if you guys don't remember this, we were the only school district in St. Louis County that had kids in session in the fall of 2020. We did a hybrid, but we had K-3 in a hybrid because we were like, our teachers were like, we can't do what we did last spring in March. That's not good for them. That's not good for us. We've at least got to try. So we had kids in school before anybody else, and we believe our kids have come out of that COVID dip or that pandemic dip sooner because we had them in person longer. But you can see it was real. So they went from 87 to 74. Then we made a little progress with them, made some more progress. And then at the end of the year last year, we feel like we've gotten them caught back up. So these kids were in first grade. This is kind of their journey as third graders. So we finally feel like, now we feel like we can just boom, we can accelerate them and continue them on. But we did. I mean, it's expected. I mean, when you send kids home and they're sitting there looking at a computer and we're doing the best we can with them, for 9 weeks, and then only being in school every other day to start the school year. We eventually got them to 5 days by the end of the first quarter that first year. But again, so that just kind of shows you kind of what we've been dealing with as far as the academics go. But they are going right back the direction in which we hope for them to be. So. And then this is our high school. I think it's important for us to have those measures around academics. And this is kind of, the end of the educational journey in your school system. So basically, we, have our kids go all the way through our system, and then a lot of our kids, the majority of our kids go on to college, and they take the ACT, and they do that. But we do have some kids that go into the workforce. We have some that go into the military. So we want to have assessments to help us determine, are we doing a good job to prepare kids to go into the workforce? Are we doing a good job to prepare kids to go into the military? Are we doing a good job for kids to go into college? And this is just some data around that. And I'll start with the ACT. This is the composite average, but our composite's a 24.2. The national average is a 20. So our kids are way outperforming their national cohorts. And what I like to share is this English number right here. ACT says if you score a certain score, then you have a you have a good chance to at least get a C or higher on a college level course. So that score for English, ACT says if you score an 18, then you are going to have a likely chance to get a C or higher in that college course. Look at how well our kids are doing in English. So they're 6 points above the national average, which we are super excited about that. And then over here, this is our ACT assessment for kids going into the workforce. And so it shows you the different levels in which our kids scored, which we were excited about that. And I am very, very proud of this. is that we had 11 kids that said they wanted to go into the military, and all 11 of them met the aptitude test right away to be able to go into the military, which we were super excited about that. So again, that's kind of a snapshot of last year's graduating class, the class of 22 last year. So with that, we'll jump into this. Another conversation we started back when we came in 4 years ago was we wanted to give our Lindbergh graduates a leg up on people. So just getting a high school diploma wasn't good enough. So we started thinking about, let's give them a plus. So what are things that we can do and programs we can have for our kids to be able to take that would give them an advantage or get them ahead of somebody else that may be trying to get into this college or maybe get this job or get into this program. So we basically, our kids at our high school sit down with their counselors, and it's no longer about just a high school diploma. What are your plus? You at least got to have one plus. You got to have one plus in there. I hope the kids have multiple pluses. They have plus, plus, plus. You know, we want them to be involved in doing things outside of school. And this is just a list of some of the opportunities that our kids have. And I'm not going to go into all of these. We are going to watch a video on this one here in a second. But a couple I want to highlight is this early to college. You may or may not be aware of this, but we budget and we pay tuition for 50 kids to go out to St. Louis County Community College out here. We'll pay up to 60 hours of college credit. If they want to get an associate's degree, they can. If they just want to get general college credit, the basics, so then when they go on to a 4-year school, they're taking their major stuff and they're already doing their major. So we do that. We started that. So last year we had about 50 kids walk across the stage that either had an associate's degree or had 60 hours of college credit and a high school diploma. So that's a plus. That's a plus. Another thing that we've really beefed up, because a lot of kids don't want to leave their high school campus and go out there. They want to stay on their high school campus, have that experience, do that. We've really beefed up our dual enrollment credit. So basically, we've partnered with different universities in the area where you can be in the U.S. history class at Lindbergh High School and be getting college credit through St. Louis County Community College. Very cheap tuition. You know, you can write it, but you're right there. A lot of our kids are now graduating from Lindbergh High School between 30 and 36 hours of college credit. Last year, St. Louis County came to our Board of Education, presented them a certificate that said, you guys, your school district saved your families almost $1 million in college tuition by having such a robust dual credit program. So again, what are those things and opportunities we can do for our families? And one I like to highlight is we just started this program. The first course will be offered second semester. Our kids will be able to graduate with a drone aviation license. So it's one of the top 25 jobs of the future is drone aviation. A lot of real estate companies are hiring drone pilots. Oil and gas prospecting companies are as well. Construction people, architects, engineers. So it is one of the top. So we're going to start that program. It'll start in the springtime. We have 3 sections. We have 60 kids signed up for it, so it's very popular. I think eventually we'll have 7 sections of that course. Again, but we're always looking for ways to add and give our kids opportunities to get more than just a high school diploma. What is that plus? And here are some that are in the development. This one is launched. We'll launch this fall, and this is for your middle of the road kid going through life at the high school, makes A's, B's, and C's, doesn't really challenge themselves, maybe just whatever. This will be an elective class that kids will be able to take during the day, and they will get help with reading, writing, inquiry, collaboration. They'll work on how to take good notes. They'll have tutorial, but they will be required to take some honors classes. But they will have a support system that will help them be able to take that more challenging schedule, and they will take that all the way through. So, in education, so often we have stuff for the high-end kid, right? And the low-end kid. It's this kid in the middle that gets kind of left behind, right? So we wanted to find something and create a program here. And this is a program that a lot of, it's not in St. Louis. It's very big on the Kansas City side. Columbia Public Schools has this as well. So we're going to be one of the first school districts, which I think you'll start to see it become very popular in the St. Louis area, but we will be the first district in the St. Louis area to do that. We're going to start a new program with, we've had one meeting already with Chief Hendricks, and we have one coming up, but we're going to create a fire safety program to help kids that have an interest in that, again, to have a leg up. So kids will be able to graduate. They'll do it for 2 years with an EMT. So when kids graduate, to get into the Academy for St. Louis County Fire, you have to have an EMT. And so again, opportunity for our kids while we have them in high school. How can we give them a leg up on somebody else to be able to get into that fire academy? And if you're not familiar, we bought the Farmers Club during the pandemic. And what we would like, Beth, is there any water? Can you give me, is there any, so, if we bought the Farmers Club, and what we want to do here is, you guys know as well as I do, that Concord School Road traffic is terrible when you go to Sperring. So what we would like to do is take half of that property and get families onto that property and onto Sperring sooner and quicker. The west side of that property, we want to create a sustainability farm and have a modern farming program there. So basically, it would be, we would partner with different things, but to keep the history of that property, because it's so important to this area, the farming part of that, because you guys all know as well as I do, this was all farmland at one time, right? And so to keep that history of that and make it a more modern farming, teach kids about different modern farming careers. And what we'll do is, thank you, what we will do is we will create this program that will be tied to our science curriculum. So elementary kids would go down there, let's say third grader would go down there, have 2 field trips to the farm. And they would learn about different careers. They would work, we'll probably have some animals on there. We're growing some different crops. But again, this idea that farming is really, really important, and it's very, and it's also urban farming is what they call it. It's one of the top 25 jobs of the future as well. So again, how do we take our science curriculum that we know we have to teach, but how can we make it relevant to our kids elementary through secondary? So again, that will be a program we'll be looking to add. And then anytime we can add any kind of industry recognized certifications and things like that, we're going to continue to add those kinds of programs. All of us probably know somebody that went to college and got a degree, spent a lot of money, but they don't use that degree to earn a living, right? So the CAPS program is kind of like this. Yeah, I think I want to be a teacher, but while they're in high school, they really get introduced to that profession and say, do I really want to go and do that? Is this for me? And like they said, it can either validate it or it can say, yeah, maybe it's not what I thought it was supposed to be. And so continue, we have, in the CAPS network, we also have medical strands for kids to go work with medical professionals and different things like that. So we're super excited about that program, and we'll just continue to add to that as well. But this next piece I want to share with you is last year, the Department of Education charged a group to basically look at innovative ways that schools could operate and what ways that schools districts could be held accountable, and also looking at different assessments. And so this group last year met throughout the year. It's called the Success Ready Network, and they met and they studied and they researched different things across the country. And so basically they did all of this work, and then in June they went to the State Board of Education and said, here's what we found, here's what we would recommend to the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education got so excited about what they presented that they said, you go find 25 school districts across the state of Missouri that are already doing that kind of work, that innovative kind of work, and thinking differently about schools, thinking differently about how you assess kids, districts that are assessing kids on growth and not just a one-time snapshot, districts that are giving kids real-world learning experiences for them while they're in high school. And so I'm happy to say that we are one of those 25 school districts that will be sitting at the table over the next 2 to 3 years that will redesign the accountability system in the state of Missouri, as well as the state test in the state of Missouri. And that state test that you're going to probably see moving forward will be very similar to what we're already doing internally here with our kids around measuring that. Where did you start? Where did you end? Around the competency-based, so often a lot of us probably had a class in high school or in college or somewhere where you sat in that class and you're like, oh my gosh, I know all of this. I wish I could get out of it, but you had to sit in there, right? Because we call this thing called seat time, right? You got to be in it so long, right? You got to be there, right? Well, this idea of this will be, you know, if you can demonstrate that you've mastered geometry, why do you have to stay in geometry all year? You know what? If you want a traditional way to take geometry and take it all year long, we're going to give you that opportunity. But if you want to do a construction class and we embed geometry standards in that construction class, why can't you get geometry credit for that as well? So again, back to this personalization, hands-on interest for kids, still teaching standards, still teaching the academics, but not just this one-size-fits-all approach to education. So we are super excited that we're going to get to speak into that and what the state of Missouri potentially could look like in how we educate kids, and it's a privilege and it's an honor for us to be one of those districts, and so we are super excited about that opportunity. And then, high quality teachers, this is one of our other success measures. Just want to kind of highlight, you know, we've been named the top workplace in St. Louis. They do 15 of those in the large category because we have close to 1,000 employees. We're considered a large employer. 20, 21, 22, we've been named a top workplace. And what they do is they come in and they do an external survey. So it's not us. And a company, they come in, they do this, and this is all of our employee groups. And for us to get that, we are super excited. There is a national narrative that there is a teacher shortage, and there is a teacher shortage across this country. It's just not here in Lindbergh. If you look at this, we had 78 openings last year. We had almost 1,100 qualified people apply for those jobs. People want to be here. This is where they want to be. They want to work here. This is where they want to be. And so, and just so you guys know too, you know, one of the things that I was challenged, the board gave me the challenge of when they hired me 4 years was to improve our compensation for all of our employees without raising anybody's taxes. And you notice I haven't raised anybody's taxes or he come to you to raise taxes. And so we have gone, our teachers' pay has gone from the starting of about 18 or 19th out of 22 in the county to about 8th in the county. Our ending has gone from about the same, maybe 16 or 17 into that top 10 as well. And when I asked the board, they said, we got to improve that. I said, well, what's that mean? That's pretty broad. Where do you want to be? They said, we want to be 5 to 8. We don't want to be in the top 5, but we want to be right there knocking on the door that we're not going to lose people because they can go somewhere else and make a lot more money. Because what was happening was we would hire these great young teachers, we'd train them up for 4 or 5 years, give them all this great professional learning, and then Clayton and Ladue would pay them so much more money than us. They would go there, and I just said, we are not going to be the minor leagues to anybody. I refuse. We are not going to be the minor leagues to any school district, other school district in St. Louis County. So we have really been conscious about that, and we've been able to do that just by looking at how we were spending our money in other places, and how can you repurpose dollars and get them to where they need to be. And so been super happy about that. So just really pleased with kind of that work. And then this is kind of a random thing that I like people to kind of get is, just so you know, MoDOT is going to do a sidewalk from Barracks View all the way to Big Bend. We actually had to sell them a little piece of our high school property for them to be able to do that. I wanted, and I guess you guys probably know this, but MoDOT donated that to us as well over here. So I was hoping maybe that we would just make maybe a exchange there, but that didn't happen. And so Music Road, we finally got that in at Dressel. And then safety zone, the beacons down here in Sappington. And then this is one that I like to really highlight is that because it shows the two cities and the school district working together with taxpayer dollars to better the entire community. And so what both cities have a master sidewalk plan because they want to get more sidewalks for people to get out, walk, be healthy, do all that, but we want them to be safe. So we have been contributing money to that. Each year we look and see what we have. And so this past year, I think it was $35,000 we put in to Crestwood and Sunset Hills to expand more sidewalks. I think we're doing some over by Truman. We're doing some back over here by Sappington. And again, it's also for our kids to be able to walk to school safely as well because that's better for them. And plus, every bus we put into service is about $100,000. So the less buses we have, that's more money that can go to professional learning for teachers, different programs, different things like that. So again, we are excited just to kind of work with our city. And just so you guys know, I have lunch 2 or 3 times a year with both mayors. We have a great working relationship because when we all work together, the whole community is better, whether you have kids in the school district or you don't have kids in the school district. And then this is just a finance, and I think I shared this with you guys in the spring, but I want to share it with you again. You have the lowest residential tax rate you can possibly have in the state of Missouri. You can't have a tax rate lower than 275. And us and Ladue, I believe, are the only two school districts that I'm aware of that have that 275 residential. So, and it's called the Hancock Amendment. We can be above 275. Like I think our max levy that you guys passed back in 2009-ish, 10-ish maybe, is like 4 something, I think. So you passed that one back then, but because our assessed evaluation has been going up, we've been rolling it down, rolling it down, rolling it down. Well, now the state of Missouri says you can't roll it any lower than that. It has to stay right there. So we can't go lower than 275, but you have the lowest residential tax rate base that you can have in the state of Missouri. And then here we've created a long-range facility plan for each of our campuses just to make those improvements as we continue to think about future bond projects down the road. And then across the, there's a narrative out there that public school enrollment is going down. It is, but not here. We're continuing to grow. If you see this, we're growing, close to 50 kids from where we were last year about this time. And that's a nice, steady growth. You get too much of that, then you're going to have to start adding on additions and doing things like that. And so it's a manageable pace for us. But our last demographic study that we had that was refreshed last year shows in about a decade we'll be about 8,200. So we'll be over 8,000 kids in about 10 years or so. So we're going to just kind of continue to grow. And then this is something that's kind of a random thing too. This is the tax rate since 1987. So you can see the tax rate. So it's here. We refinanced some of our debt, as much, whatever we could right here in this area. I don't know exactly where, but we saved the district almost $4.3 million in interest payments. So by refinancing and taking advantage of that low interest rate, we were like, Joelle and I were like, you know what? It's not. I know people are like, oh, it's going to stay. We were like, it's going. That's as low as it's probably ever going to go. And as you see, it's really gone back up again. So we took advantage of that, and we saved about $4.3 million in interest. And then here are just some pictures of Prop R. This is the rendering of what the high school will look like, so you can see the big parking lot, all of that. That's the rendering of it. This is the actual photo of it right now. So you can see all of this goes away and becomes parking lot. What I will say is, we are in the new building. It is usable. It is not done. So we are in there occupying it. We're teaching class in there, but there is still stuff like we're hopefully getting the orchestra and choir rooms today. They were doing the final inspections today, so hopefully we can start moving in this weekend. And if you're not familiar with those they used to be music rooms a long time ago, but we converted them to wrestling rooms over here by Gym. We called that Gym 2. It's now the Gold Gym. And so that's the new choir and music rooms right there. This is the auditorium again. This will be the main entrance. This is going to be the Gifted Center, which will be finished in the fall as well. So our PEGS kids over at Kennerly will be at that space all the time, and then the elite kids, instead of going to Sparing, will go here. They will finally have a permanent home. We won't have to move them again because people don't like to get moved around, so we're excited about that. This area back here all becomes a parking lot, so it's about 200 parking spaces back here, which we're excited about. The tennis courts over here, and then this will be a field that you can set up for softball and baseball. It's a turf field, so you can play softball in the fall and you can play baseball in the spring. So that's kind of finishing up as well. This is the picture of the main entrance. So basically that'll be the drive in right here. You'll come in, that's the main entrance. This is the lobby, or if you went through those doors right there, if you went through these doors right here, this is what you will see. That's our library. That's a 2-story library right there in the middle. And what's cool is, so if you go to an activity or a game back at the fields, you're actually going to park over here where this building is. You're going to walk in this main door, and you're going to go out those back doors and walk straight out to the field. So you'll actually go through the building. We created it like a breezeway to cut through, and plus we kind of wanted to show it off because it's pretty cool. So we wanted people to see it, and be proud of it. So this is the main entrance right here that would take you all the way back out. This is a food kiosk here, and here. This is a coffee shop. If you guys aren't familiar, we only have one lunch period at the high school. You know, the old days of 4 lunch periods, 25 minutes. We feed all 2,300-ish kids at the same time. You know, we always talk about we want kids to be more responsible, time management, all of those things. Well, where during the school day do we allow them to do that? We got 5-minute passing period, you got a 25-minute lunch. It also allows this to happen. Half our teachers are eating during that time. The other half are available to help kids and tutor and do tutoring sessions and things like that. Clubs can meet during that time, all of those things, and then the teachers switch. So again, the stress level of our kids has gone down, especially those kids that are taking 4 or 5 honors classes. So again, we have this opportunity through the day. So we have to have multiple places to feed kids because not all of them can go to the cafeteria, right? So we designed it to have these food kiosks where kids, but it's basically like a post-secondary campus. Like if you went onto a college campus and whatever, you see kids moving around, they are responsible for their time. And guys, I can tell you, it's amazing that you can turn, not every community could do this, but turn that many kids loose. There's no trash. Kids don't get in trouble. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect, but you know what I'm saying? It is amazing to watch that activity going on that high school campus during lunch. And what we also did, you guys maybe remember your kids would come home, or you may remember this, you may have grandkids that go, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody in my lunch. I have to sit, who am I going to sit with at lunch? We've taken that off the table. You don't have to worry about that now, because no matter where you are, if you got a teacher that you have a good relationship, you can go eat in their classroom. If you got your friends, you can say, hey, we're going to meet over here by the coffee shop and eat together. So again, we've taken some of those things that used to really kind of be a detriment to kids off the table. This is a picture of one of the new classrooms. This is the old, this is the remodeled building over here. So this green wall will actually come down. And between the new classroom and the remodeled classroom, that's what, next picture. So this is a picture of the science classrooms. And one of the classrooms, which is really cool, and we're going to give tours probably second semester, so you'll be able to, the community will be able to sign up. We'll do an open house because we want to get everything done. But there's a room on the 3rd floor looking north. You look to the right, you can see the arch and you can see downtown. It's a classroom that has floor to ceiling glass windows, but you can see all the way downtown. It's really cool. It's like anytime you give a tour, like I gave a tour yesterday to somebody, you have to go by that room. She's just gotten used to it. She's like, okay, I know everybody's going to come in my room and show off the room. So that's a picture of the science classroom. This is a corridor. This is a collaboration space right here. And right over here, that green wall, that comes down. That's the old senior hallway, what they called the old senior hallways right there. And so basically, you'll have in the existing building, you have this hallway in the new building, but you have the existing hallway running just like this, and there's 2 collaboration spaces running down that hallway. So you can go back and forth from existing building to new building just like that. So you don't have to walk down just a loaded hallway to get to and from your classes. This is a collaboration space outside of the classrooms right here. This is the band room. Our performing arts area will be as good as anybody's. They have a band room, they have a percussion room, they have a black box theater, which is a small theater that'll seat 150 people for like improv shows and different things like that. The new auditorium will seat about 1,000 people. Has the balcony, and what we love about the balcony is it's operable seating, because we don't always need a 1,000-seat auditorium, and that's a lot of money to put into a balcony for 7 or 8 times a year. So how could we make that? So basically, when you think of the Ann Morrow room up there, that's kind of what that balcony becomes. It becomes kind of like a multi-purpose room that can be used for different things. This is one of the food kiosks where we serve food at during lunch in the building. This is the learning stair. This is in the commons. So if you're down in the commons right here, this takes you up into the new building. And this is the library up here, and this is the main entrance right over there. Kids can hang, we call this the learning stair. Kids can hang there on the stair. They got outlets. They can charge their devices, their phones, whatever it is. And outside, right over here, that same staircase is outside. And if you kind of, a point of reference, that was the hill that you used to walk up, and the math building was right there to the right. So it's kind of like going up that hill, but it's now a staircase right there. Oh, there it is. That's a picture of the outside staircase. Beth put some new pictures in here on me. So that's the outside going up the hill. And the math building, just to give you a point of reference, used to sit kind of like right over there. This is the Commons. It's completely being redone. It doesn't have its new flooring yet. It gets flooring over the summer. But we took out the wall between the old cafeteria or cafeteria 1 and the Commons. So now it's this one great big space that you can just flow through. That's inside the Commons. That's inside Gym 3. This is looking south in the gym. So this is the south wall right here. So the Commons is right on the other side of the wall right there. This is our $4 million surprise that we got from St. Louis County, that it was a storm shelter that they told us that we didn't have to have, but then changed their mind and said we did have to have it. So it turned out good. I mean, it turned out what we needed, and it's a great space for our kids, and it's nice, and it's really kind of a nice multi-purpose. You can do baseball in there if the weather's bad, softball, different things like that. So that is the new gym that we had to add on the back. That's an aerial view. This is the new tennis courts where the softball field used to be. This is that new field that will be able to be set up as softball or baseball. And then we kept our one. So you can see this temporary fence right here. So it's set up for softball right now. So in the fall, we'll set that fence up right here, and the girls can play softball. And then in the spring, we'll take that temporary fence down, and it'll be just like a normal. You can also mark it for field hockey and lacrosse as well. And then we're going to put another storage building right back out here as well next to that. This is a rendering of the new gifted center. So this is the old library right here. So this is kind of what the inside of the old library will look like. This will be our new gifted center where our LEAP and our PEGS kids will go. What we're really excited about this is being on the high school campus. We're going to create an elective class for high school gifted kids to be mentors. So they can actually take a class and they can go down and work with the elementary kids, and we're super excited about that opportunity for kids. And that's a picture of the library right now. It's torn up. So the old library is gutted basically, and it's all torn up, and it's going to look like that when we're done. So that's what it'll look like inside when we're done. And then just really quick, our Prop R, part of that was to put secure vestibules at each of our buildings. This is Crestwood. And something we're also doing is putting these vehicular pillars here to keep people from potentially driving up on a sidewalk, because that's where our kids wait for their families. And with phones nowadays, people are a lot more distracted with things. And so just another safety feature for our kids. So our sidewalks and things, we want to eventually line our sidewalks where our kids are walking with these. You have McKinley, several here at Long. This is where all the kids at Long kind of hang out right there. So we did Crestwood and Long this year. We'll do 2 more elementaries next year, and we'll just keep doing it. There is Sparing down here, and that's the only modern thing at Truman High School right there, is that new secure vestibule. This building is in dire need of a facelift in the worst way. We actually looked at what would it cost to knock it down and build a boomerang building like our new high school building back there by the nursery on the fields back there. There's enough space. It was too expensive. We would have had to do some things that I didn't want to do. And so we're just going to have to put a significant amount of our next bond money to go in there and, bring it up. I mean, the air conditioner units and just the air quality in that building is not great. So we need to bring it into, the same standard as the rest of our buildings in the district. And then we had 3 buildings that had secure vestibules before Prop R. It was Concord, Sappington, and Dressel. And we went back and made them the same standard as the new ones. And basically the standard was you have a bulletproof transaction window, and you have security film where you can't break the window out. That's what they learned at Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook Elementary had a secure vestibule, but the guy broke the window out, unlocked the door, and came in. So how do you slow somebody down from getting in there so you can call 911? Because our response time is really, really fast. So it's slowing those people down that may want to get into our schools and do harm and getting the authorities there as quick as we can. So we brought those up to the same standards as the new ones. And that's it. That's all I got for you.